So under Biden, the Democrats on the issue of Israel and Gaza were an abysmal failure. I mean, there's no other way of saying it. Basically, Biden said, I'm going to green light an endless stream of money and weapons to Israel, and let them do whatever they want, and let them commit genocide in Gaza and ethnically cleanse Gaza. And we're just going to say that's par for the course. You know, Biden is an ideological, committed Zionist, and he acted like it. So he really let Israel get away with stuff that is unconscionable and incomprehensible. Okay? So the Democrats were bad. But one of the things I was telling you guys all along is that it can always get worse. It can always get worse. And Trump had made clear in a number of different ways on the campaign trail and based on his first term in office, he was going to be worse on the issue. This isn't a controversial thing to say. If you actually give a shit about the details and you're willing to be intellectually honest, this is not a controversial thing to say. And so, guess what? Day one, the Palestinians, yet again, deeply and disgustingly betrayed. So let's start with this. Look at this provision. One of the executive orders that Trump signed. Listen carefully to how this is worded, and you'll understand what's being said. Trump is going to recommend any actions necessary to protect the American people from the actions of foreign nationals who have undermined or seek to undermine the fundamental constitutional rights of the American people, including but not limited to our citizens' right to freedom of speech and the free exercise of religion protected by the First Amendment, who preach or call for sectarian violence, the overthrow or replacement of the culture on which our constitutional republic stands, or who provide aid, advocacy, or support for foreign terrorists. What they're saying here is, whenever there's a pro-Palestine protest, if one of the people engaged in the pro-Palestine protest is an immigrant, we're going to try to deport them under the guise of they were actually out in the streets supporting Hamas. That's what they're saying. This person goes on to point out, this seems quite clearly targeted to foreign nationals involved in pro-Palestine protests. In particular, foreign students on visas. Pro-Israel folks have been demanding the deportation of these protesters since October 7th. That's exactly what... excuse me. That's exactly what this is. It's exactly what this is. So he's making good on his promise to try to deport pro-Palestine protesters. You know, the other thing is they want to cut off funding to any university that allows free speech and free protest, and those protests are anti-Israeli genocide. So they're literally trying to snuff out free speech and freedom to protest a literal genocide armed and funded by the United States of America. That's what they're trying to do. So he's taking a current authoritarian-like situation and saying, let's quadruple the authoritarianism. That's what this is. Okay, so here he is. He's asked about what's happening in Gaza and with Israel. Here's what he says.
Confident are you, Mr. President, that you can keep the ceasefire in Gaza and conclude the three phases of this deal?
I'm not confident. That's not our war. It's their war.
Asked if he's confident if he can keep the ceasefire in Gaza, he goes, I'm not confident. That's not our war. That's their war. Well, we're arming and funding Israel. They can't fight this war without U.S. support. They can't do this genocide without U.S. weapons. So it is ours. It absolutely is ours. It's been ours since day fucking one. But he said, I'm not confident that they're going to keep the ceasefire. Why did he say that? We know he gave assurances behind the scenes to Netanyahu and said, after phase one of the deal, when you get back hostages, you're able to go right back to the genocide. Just make up some bullshit about Hamas violated the deal and start bombing again. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Palestinians have been so dehumanized, they're just going to say, Hamas violated it and go right back to bombing babies. And here he is, totally fine with that.
I'm not confident, but I think they're very weakened on the other side.
Do you support the two-state solution?
Gaza, boy, I looked at a picture of Gaza. Gaza is like a massive demolition site. That place it's really got to be rebuilt in a different way.
Do you plan to help rebuilding Gaza?
I might. You know, Gaza is interesting. It's a phenomenal location. On the sea, the best weather. You know, everything's good. It's like some beautiful things could be done with it. But
that's fucking ominous. That's like, hey, let's let Israel resettle Gaza. Let's build some Jared Kushner condos on the water in Gaza. This is what the far right in Israel has been talking about since they started ethnically cleansing Gaza. is we're going to resettle it and we're going to build condos on the water. They're having fucking conventions where they talk about that. And here he is. It's a beautiful property right on the water, nice weather. A lot of amazing things can be done with it. This is insane.
That's very interesting. But some fantastic things could be done with Gaza.
How do you see the future in governance for Gaza?
Well, it depends. I can't imagine you could have, well, you certainly can't have the people that were there. Most of them are dead.
So in other words, well, Hamas can't stay in power. Again, this was part of the fake ceasefire deal. It was basically in the deal was Hamas needs to disband and not run Gaza anymore. Yeah. Is that what they agreed to? Is that what they agreed to? They're going to use this as, oh, they're not following the deal. Time to do more genocide. This was all such a fucking shameless ploy. This was all planned. Netanyahu went and met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and they planned all this out. Give Trump a PR victory like he got a ceasefire. This isn't a fucking ceasefire. This isn't a ceasefire. All right, more. I'm not done yet. So, at the same time that Israel released 90 Palestinian hostages as part of the deal, what happened? They went to the West Bank and they snatched 64 new hostages. At the same time, the settlers were burning shit down in the West Bank. No, it's going down, y'all. I told you. This isn't a game. When Miriam Adelson gave Trump $100 million, it wasn't because she likes his thoughts on the marginal tax rate or his thoughts on abortion. No, there's a quid pro quo. The quid pro quo is you're going to let Israel annex either parts of the West Bank or the entire West Bank. I'll give you this $100 million. This is what you do for me in return. And the reason we know that, there was reporting on it, number one. But number two, in Trump's first term, Sheldon Adelson gave him $100 million on two separate occasions. And one of the things he did in return for that was allowed Israel to illegally annex the Golan Heights, which is Syrian territory. In fact, if you take Trump's word for it, or I'm sorry, if you take Miriam's word for it, she says, well, he called me one day and said, congrats, the Golan Heights is now Israeli territory. And she was like, I didn't even ask for that one. He just threw that one in as like a bonus. What she did want is the embassy moved to Jerusalem. What she did want is the Abraham Accords, which was a giant middle finger to the Palestinians, basically saying you're going to be occupied forever and shut the fuck up. This is who this guy is. There's a reason that there's fucking billboards up in Israel where they say, we love you, President Trump. There's a reason for it. This was a fake deal. More. Trump lifts sanctions on extremist Israeli settlers. Guys, remember, there were some sanctions on some extremist Israeli settlers. Biden had put some new ones and then got rid of the new ones or scrapped the new ones, but there was still some sanctions on some of the Israeli settlers. Trump's like, no, we're getting rid of it. This was part of the goodie bag to give him the PR win of having a ceasefire. I'm still not done. So here is Stefanik. Stefanik, is that, I don't know if she's supposed to be Trump's ambassador to Israel or Trump's ambassador to the UN. I want to say to the UN. I think his ambassador to Israel is Mike Huckabee, who's a Christian Zionist who believes in the apocalypse and end times and the rapture and Jesus coming back on a white horse in his lifetime. These are the fundamentalist religious lunatics that Trump is putting in positions of power for a vital region. Okay, so here's Stefanik. Listen to this, guys.
Rarely surprised by answers in my office, but I did ask you whether you subscribe to the views of Finance Minister Smotrich.
Who? I'm sorry,
Smotrich. This is the Israeli Finance Minister Smotrich and the former National Security Minister Ben-Gvir, who believe that Israel has a biblical right to the entire West Bank. And in that conversation, you told me that, yes, you shared that view. Is that your view today?
Yes.
She says Israel has a biblical right to the entire West Bank. Could you imagine some Muslim government holding a hearing and they say, we have an Islamic right to Tel Aviv, right? Could you imagine what the reaction would be in that scenario? They're going to annex the West Bank, bro. They're going to do to the West Bank what they're doing to Gaza. We already saw Genocide 1.0. How about Genocide 2.0? It's happening. It is fucking happening. The complete and utter collapse of international law and human rights and the UN. I mean, this is fucking mind-boggling. What we're witnessing. We literally still live in the world where might makes right. We literally still live in that world. International law is fake. It's fake. I got more. Israel today dropped an investigation into 5 of its soldiers who were charged with sexually abusing and murdering a Palestinian captive from Gaza during the genocide. The soldiers reportedly bragged about their actions in WhatsApp messages and confessed to the police. One soldier had even supposedly filmed himself stabbing the captive in the face. So, 5 Israeli soldiers who raped and murdered Palestinian hostages and bragged about it. The IDF drops the investigation. President Trump is expected to lift the Biden administration freeze on 2,000-pound bombs to Israel, bombs that they use to kill hundreds of civilians to get one Hamas member. This is them saying it, not even me. Going to give them 2,000-pound bombs. Bombs that were so insane and so powerful and did so much damage, we even hesitated to use them in Iraq. We did. We did. And we're no fucking angels. We are no fucking angels. Palestinians betrayed yet again. This is disgusting. This is grotesque. These are fucking war criminals that we're dealing with here. Netanyahu needs to be locked up. Ben-Gvir needs to be locked up. Smotrich needs to be locked up. The head of the IDF needs to be locked up. There is no plausible deniability. We are witnessing the Holocaust again in real time. And what did Trump do with that? He decided to fake, for PR reasons, a ceasefire agreement, while behind the scenes giving Israel absolutely everything they wanted, including an assurance you can go right back to doing the genocide. Just give me this PR victory. I'm pretty jaded. I got a pretty thick skin, but even I'm at a loss for words. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.